Welcome back to Sea Glass Archaeology, everybody. It's an overcast day in June, and I'm on a small little beach picking the smallest little sea glass you'll ever see. My beach is actually completely covered with seaweed right now, making it impossible for us to go down there and pick, even though it's low tide. But after I've picked all the tinies that I can stand, we're going to get on my bicycle and make a trip to a tiny little spot, and hopefully we're going to make some sea glass discoveries out there. Check this out right over here. This might be the smallest piece of red that I've ever found in my life. You can see there's a few other pieces of sea glass that are quite small all around it, and they absolutely dwarf this piece right over here, which I couldn't even say is over 1 millimeter by 1 millimeter. I just found another really tiny fragment of red sea glass while I'm sitting here picking all these tinies that I wanted to share with you. And it's kind of neat. If you look right over there, you can see there's a tiny little red bug, and he's just crawling right in front of me. Hey, let me know if you see any more red sea glass, okay? Now, the sea glass I'm looking for today, everybody, is some of the smallest sea glass you're ever going to see in your life. You can see this tiny little piece right over here. It's definitely under 1 millimeter in size, and I need a lot of it too, so I'm going to sit here and pick this as much as I can. I just got to the new spot, and you can see right over here, it looks like there's a really well-aged piece of cobalt or even cornflower blue. You know, it's a little bit lighter than a darker cobalt oxide. So this one here is a cornflower. And then I looked up and I can see this, but unfortunately, everybody, it's a piece of plastic. It's not a piece of glass. And as you can see all around me right here, this seems to be the flotsam pile, which means this is the highest point that the tide pushed up because it's got all of these rubber bands, the driftwood, and other assorted pieces of rubber, which is going to take all day for me to clean up, as you can see. And actually, as I'm talking, look at that right over here, everybody. It's a beautiful piece of gray, and it's in the same pile, a little piece of green. What caught my attention was this piece of driftwood over here. Oh, and then look right over here, everybody. It's even a nice piece of ceramic, a really beautiful piece of ceramic. So I'm going to give this a little bit of a push now. Oh, and then look right over here. Another big piece right over here. This is a good sign if this is what I'm finding in my first couple of feet. Unfortunately, you can see, everybody, that this beach is also covered in a lot of seaweed as well, although it is low tide, so there's going to be a few little small piles that we are going to be able to dig. And after those amazing discoveries that I made a couple of days ago on this beach, I'm really excited to be here because something else amazing could pop up. Oh, look at this right over here. Is this red? Is it red? Nah, it's amber brown. It's still beautiful though. Look at this beautiful piece of blue right over here. Nicely aged, sitting right next to this piece of aluminum. I'm gonna take them both. And look at this right over here. It's a piece of cobalt blue, about 1/2 inch big. That's awesome. Another piece right over here. Okay. A huge piece right over here, but it's not that well aged. So let's keep on going here. Okay, everybody, as you can see, I've put the camera down and it's going to be time for me to do some digging. There's a few piles on this beach right now that have some really nice sized pebbles, and this is where I usually find the best sea glass in. As you can see, I've got this piece right over here. I've got a nice little bag as well. And now I'm going to do some digging and see what's at the bottom here. Nice little piece of cobalt blue. It's not too big. I'll take it though. Amber brown. Oh, look at that. It's like a piece of green in its bonfire. Oh, yeah. Guys, look at this right over here. I think this is a piece of uranium glass. Okay, so check it out here. I don't want to get too close over here. I got the camera a little close to where I'm digging, but you can see it. I think that this piece here is Vaseline glass, uranium glass, or canary glass, as it's sometimes called. And I'm pretty sure that when we go home, I'm going to be able to put this under a black light and it's going to fluoresce underneath that black light. Now, this is a really good spot for me to find uranium glass because this is right near the Old Town dump. And I've actually recovered quite a bit of uranium glass and some amazing pieces out here over the years. This little piece of purple right over here on the seaweed. I actually thought that this was a piece of purple sea glass. It tricked me. Oh, look at that. And then 2 seconds later, I find this piece right over here. Take a look at this beautiful piece of bonfire sea glass that I have right over here. Here, let me get a little bit of the seaweed off so we can get a better view of it here. So you can see that it's a piece of clear glass and a piece of green glass, and they become malleable so they can fuse at about 550 degrees, which is very common in a bonfire that you'd be having in a rubbish tip or a rubbish pit. So two bottles that were very different were sitting next to each other in a fire, and then they fuse together, and then over time they go into the ocean and they kind of smooth down, and then I find this beautiful little piece right over here and I get to share it with you. You know, it's kind of wild. I think in my life I found a clear bottle, a green bottle, and a brown bottle, and they were all fused together. And for me, that was the strangest thing I've ever found with respect to bonfire glass, is a piece that has 3 different fragments of 3 different bottles, and they're all together. You know, you can tell a lot about the beach that you're picking by the different types of bonfire glass that you find. You know, there were bonfires on public beaches and there were bonfires on rubbish coves where they would burn a lot of their discards. But the difference being, if you're going to be on a rubbish cove, you're not going to find the colors that are not associated with consumer bottles. So you're not going to find too many milk glass or cobalt blue or even Vaseline uranium glass as well. So when you're finding pieces of bonfire glass that are in these styles of glass, then you know that it's a rubbish tip as opposed to a party beach. Gotta be kidding me, everybody. I just found a tiny, tiny little speck of red sea glass right over here. Here, let me try and hold it. It's really bright. It's kind of like a cherry red glass here. Let me see if I can get it in better focus here, everybody. So you can see it's a really, really tiny piece of red glass. I would almost call this cherry red, and I'm pretty sure, almost guaranteed, that this is glass and it's not plastic. There's a few different ways you can tell if your piece of glass is plastic or not. Now, the main way that you can tell is because glass doesn't become malleable, as I just talked about with the bonfire glass. It doesn't become kind of compromised by heat until about 550 degrees, whereas a piece of plastic will become compromised at as low as 150 degrees. Now, I know you don't want to go out there and be setting your sea glass on fire, so the easier way to tell would be to take a whole bunch of sea glass and put it in a deep dish with water, and then start swirling and create a vortex. Anything that's plastic will separate from the glass because it's less dense, it weighs less, and it'll kind of flutter around and might even go to the top for a few seconds. And I can guarantee that if I put this tiny little speck of red in a bowl and do what I just said, it would still sit with all of the sea glass heavy on the bottom, as opposed to fluttering like that other piece of red that I found that I know is plastic. So I'm thinking there's a chance when I go home today, I'm going to do this experiment on camera, and I'm going to show it to everybody so you get a better idea of what I'm talking about. Guys, check it out. It's a marble. Yeah. Okay, here I am, everybody. I got me a marble right over here. Let's take a look. So it's a cat's eye. It's got a little bit of yellow, some red, and some white. So it's got 3 different veins of colors to it. It's really hard to tell, everybody, but if you look right over there on the top, you can see there's a few little air bubbles. I think I'm catching it in the camera. You know, this thing's really reduced down in size to about 3/8 of an inch. So it's been in the ocean probably for a little bit, and it's a beautiful little sparkling find. And where did it go? Where did it go? There it is. I knew I saw something purple. Here it is, everybody. Check this one out right over here. It is definitely the day for bonfire sea glass out on this little spot that I'm in. Like I said, you can definitely tell when a place is a rubbish cove if you're finding pieces of sea glass that weren't used in consumer bottles. And this is the perfect example right over here. You can see this is a chunk. It's a nice bubbly chunk of lavender sea glass. It's almost dark purple, and it's definitely been in the bonfire. I'm looking at it right now, and you can really see it's got some creases in it And the tide is coming in because I just got really wet lying down. I'm gonna have to pick up the camera and move somewhere else because these stones are getting too big and I'm getting wet. Oh, look right there. A nice little nugget right over here, everybody. It's a big, thick piece of green. Not Kelly green either, so it's probably from some sort of a wine bottle. Oh, another green. Clear. Oh, look at this right over here, everybody. Oh, wait, here's this one over here too. But look at this right over here, everybody. This is the top, like the closure to a bottle. You know, a couple of months ago, if I would have found this, I probably would have just thought this is some sort of a condiment container, like some sort of a condiment jar, Worcestershire of sorts. But you know what? A couple of months ago, I found that Vitalis hair tonic bottle, and it had a closure that was very similar to this one right over here. So now it's really opened my eyes and my imagination when I find this piece right over here, and it draws me to think about that Vitalis bottle. I'm sure that if I looked at the threading on the side of the bottle and I looked at this piece right over here, I would know if it matches or not. But it's really neat that I found this one, and not too long ago I found that Vitalis bottle. Oh, there's a couple of pieces of sea glass on this large rock right over here, so I'm definitely going to take those right away. I'm going to be setting the camera down again in a moment, but I just figured I'd do a little bit more hand scraping first before I do get comfortable here. Let's take a look at this one here. It's the tileware, and it's got these little grooves on it so it can catch the grout. And then look right over here, I can totally see a piece of amber brown sea glass, and it's aged to perfection. And then look right over here, you've got to be kidding me. Here guys, let me get this in the camera right now before I pick it up. Do you see this little peekaboo find? It's sitting right behind this massive rock over here. So obviously I missed it. Oh my gosh. It is opalescent and it is hobnail glass. This is absolutely crazy, guys. Okay, so what can I say about this? So these patterns right over here are what's referred to as hobnail glass. And you can see this used in almost any different style of color and different patterns of glass. I actually have a melt glass lamp at home that's made with hobnail. But this is a piece of opalescent glass. What I can say about opalescent glass is typically this was made by making a thicker part of glass in the center and then cooling it down a lot slower than you would cool down the rest of the glass. And also sometimes it would actually be made by what you would do is you would reheat the center of the glass that was a little bit thicker, and it would create this crystallization. So when we see a beautiful piece of opalescent like this, there's actually a crystallization process that takes place to obtain this beautiful color and this beautiful hue that it possesses. I remember when I first started picking, everybody, I would pick right up against the wall of the shoreline right over here. And now, about 13 years later, I've learned how dangerous it is, because these cliffs, these millions of years of sediment can just come down in just an instant. Just standing right here about 12 feet away gets me nervous. And you can see these little shelves over here that are sticking out. And it's just wild that they're just being held by almost nothing, just the sedimentary force of being compacted down. So there is no chance anymore that I will go in there and look. But I definitely remember when I first moved here, some of the best things that I would find were right in these piles that were pushed up right to the top. Okay, everybody, I'm really happy that the cliffs are not overhanging, because right over there, I can see a rather large piece of clear sea glass. So I'm just gonna sneak in here just in case really quickly, and then I'm gonna pull it out and we're gonna take a look at it. So look at this over here. Oh yeah, look at this, guys. Look at this right over here. So this is the pinhole threading that is common from old insulators that would be used for electrical and telecommunication poles. You know, this pinhole threading right over here was first patented in the 1860s, and it is still common to this day. So if you see a piece of sea glass out your way and it's got these lines on it that are the exact same distance apart, without a doubt, this would have been from an old insulator. You can hear the waves are really coming in. There's not too many places left to pick here. Oh, look at that. Just as I'm speaking, I guess there is still places to pick. I just found this beautiful shard right here. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a marble, everybody. It's another one. Okay, check this one out. So it doesn't have too much coloring to it. You can see it's got a little bit of orange. And then over here on this side, right over here, it almost looks like it's a solar flare that's erupting on the surface of this marble. And it's the absolute opposite of the one that I found earlier on today. I just love this piece right over here. You know, I have to say that looking at it in the camera right here, I don't think it really does this thing justice for the beauty and just how faint and how random these little patterns are on it. Okay, everyone, so due to all the seaweed that's on my regular beach right now, I had to branch out and look for some other places to pick. Now, where I am right now is usually closed throughout the year because the waves are too high. I'm really fortunate on this tide cycle that there's enough of a place for me to come here and dig. And I wanted to share with you why I came back here to dig so thoroughly, because a couple of days ago, I was out here with my doggies, and in a very little bit of time, I made some great discoveries that I wanted to share with you. Now, the only problem is I didn't realize it, but when I made my best find, the camera was really blurry, and I didn't notice that until I got home later on that night. So I'm gonna share it with you anyways, guys, even though it's a little bit blurry and is a little bit crackly. And then I'm gonna share with you what it is right here, right now, that amazing find, so you get a better chance to see it without all of that bad recording. So I'm gonna apologize in advance here before I let you see this, but I just figured you guys love to see all my amazing finds. I wanna share it with you. Oh, look at that right over here, everybody. It is just aged to perfection. It's like a perfect 10. This piece here is almost a 20. It's so well aged. It's a nice dark green too. It's almost like a forest green color. And then look at this. I look right over here. You've got to be kidding me. And I can already see it. I don't know if you can see it in the camera right here, but it's one of these orange things. This is the craziest thing that's ever happened to me. Oh my gosh, we were just talking about this a few weeks ago in a video. So look at this over here, everybody. You can see it's got this little line on it right over here, and maybe now this will give us a better clue as to where this comes from. My goodness, that is insane. I'm gonna really have to dig this pile now, everybody, because it really just goes to show me that if I found those 3 pieces, oh my gosh, are you really, look at this over here. It is a marble. It's about 80% of a marble. You can see it's got these 2 little stress marks on it. That is just crazy. I am just, okay, I'm not gonna stop recording here, everybody. I am gonna just put that in the bag, and now we're gonna keep looking. Look at that. Are you kidding me? This one here is a piece of lavender, so it's not as well aged, but still, it's just showing me that this whole pile right over here has really turned over. So let us look. Nice thick piece of clear. Oh, look at that. Are you kidding me? Yeah, you're not kidding me. It's a real tiny little marble, everybody. I was out of focus for a few moments, but I'm back in. It is a very tiny little cat's eye, and it's only about 4 or 5 millimeters. Over here, I noticed this little green, and then when I was trying to get the camera in focus, I looked over, and look at this that I kicked up. It's another one. Now, this one over here, it almost looks like it's opalescent to me now that I'm looking at it. If you see, it's got this crazy little swirl right over here on the side. And now that I hold it like that, it almost looks like there's a couple of little white swirls in it that are very soft. But look at the size difference between these 2 marbles over here, where that one is probably about 4 or 5 millimeters, and the other one, I'd have to say, is about 7/16. Here it is, everybody. I think it's absolutely amazing that not too long ago, I was sharing that little shard in the video, and then I come out here in the spot that I haven't picked in the longest time, and lo and behold, I find a 4th one of these in my life. You know, it's kind of wild because the other ones weren't as nice as this one, with the exception of the first one. But when I was putting on a little bit of a showcase for the arts festival, somebody asked if they could practice drilling on my sea glass. Lo and behold, they picked the orange piece that was this right over here, and they cracked it. I told him he could keep it because I was no good to me and I was just heartbroken. So I posted a few pictures of this online, everybody, and somebody actually commented and they showed me that they had found 3 lights that are very similar to this in the past, and they strongly believe that they are from old tractors. It's kind of wild. I'll share the picture with you right now, but I really wanted you to get a good look at this beautiful piece of orange glass right over here because it was just too blurry in that video. And as well, I have the 3 marbles that I found because I noticed that it was a little bit blurry as well. So look at that right over here. My beach gets all covered in seaweed and I have to branch out and go find somewhere else to pick. And I made these amazing discoveries in that very short time. Now, there was a whole bunch of other things that I found in the video, but the quality was just way too poor for me to want to share it with you. So I'm really happy that we're out here again right now and that we're making a few great discoveries. Okay, everyone, I really wanted to share with you this amazing little piece of transferware that I just found. I'm pretty sure it's from the willow pattern, and almost undoubtedly it's from the 1800s. You can see how the pattern was actually pressed onto this piece of ceramic, and it really didn't hold. It really wasn't consistent. It actually looks really, really blurry, even though it's in focus. And then you can see on the back over here, there's a little bit of crazing, and it's a very, very thin piece. So I'm going to have to imagine that this might have been the bottom of like a little bit of a teacup a very long time ago, long before electricity. But this is one of the things that I look for in ceramics that are from the 1800s, is where you can see that the pattern right over here, especially a recognizable pattern such as the willow pattern, and it's just applied so poorly onto the ceramic. Would it really be one of my videos if I didn't find a spark plug? Well, how about 2 spark plugs and even a 3rd one? So it's kind of wild. You can just see that the spark plugs, oh, and there's a 4th one right over here. Look at that, everybody. I just found 4 fragments of spark plugs all in the same pile. And it really just goes to show that sometimes the ocean takes things with the same mass and the same volume density, and it kind of puts them together. Nice little nugget right here. Too bad it's not cobalt blue. Too bad it's clear. Piece of tileware. Oh, look at this right over here. Okay, guys, I don't think I've ever seen anything like this before here. I'm going to share this with everybody. I have to share it with you because it's something that I've never seen before. So check this out right over here, everybody. You can see that it's a piece of amber brown sea glass. However, it's got this weird red, kind of a little bit of an addition to it. Now, I'm not sure if this is an applied color labeling or if this is actually fused on because of bonfire. You know, the chances are it might actually be just a result of bonfire because I'm finding so much bonfire glass out here. But there also is a chance that this could be the applied color labeling or the ACL of a bottle, and then it kind of got melted a little bit in the bonfire before it went into the ocean. Either way, here, I'm going to give it a try here. No, there's absolutely no way that this would scratch off whatsoever. You can see right over here that it's completely baked on whatever it is, whether it came on from the fire or whether it came on as an applied color labeling. It is not going anywhere. Now check it out, it's 2 seconds later and I found this huge nugget, and I even see a 5th spark plug here. Check this out, a 5th spark plug in this exact same spot. You know, those old V8 engines had twice as many spark plugs as a modern 4-cylinder engine, and people just discarded out here anything and everything. Obviously, we find old engines out here from time to time, so it goes to show why I just found the 6th piece of spark plug and how it's so common out here. It's absolutely insane how many different pieces of spark plug and how many different color spark plugs I find, because occasionally I have found ones that are pink, and occasionally I found some that have a bit of blue on them as well. And I think I even found a few that had some black on them. And this here is the tiniest piece of cobalt blue of the day. Okay, everybody, now check this out. It is another microscopic piece of red. And this one here I think is glass, but I am not sure. We're gonna have to give it the test as well when we get home to find out if this is plastic or not. Okay, everybody, so I just got impaled by this piece of an old lobster fishing trap. You can see it right over here. You know, it's kind of dangerous doing my hand style of picking because that happens from now and then. Fortunately for me, I keep up with my tetanus shot, so I don't have to worry about it. Oh, there we go. Okay, guys, I just found a piece of clear, and it's the cap seat closure. Okay, so I'm gonna bring this piece in right over here, and this is a milk glass lip. You can see it's got this little part over here, but what's very distinguishable, as I've talked about in videos before, is when you see this little ridge right on the top right over here, that's called the cap seat closure, and that tells us this is from an old milk bottle, an actual bottle that held milk in it as opposed to like a milk glass color. You know, it's kind of neat. The earlier ones were rounded, and then the later ones were more square so they could fit inside of a slotted case. And I find a lot of these out here, despite the fact that they said to return them daily, so many of them got thrown away all over the ocean. So you can see that people find these virtually anywhere that they discarded into the sea. Oh, beautiful. Look at that. It's aged to perfection. It's an amber brown little piece here. It's going to make one half of a beautiful earring set, I'm going to imagine. Although not today, because I am picking. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Here it is, everybody. This is what we're looking for. This is it right over here. Oh my goodness, this makes those marbles look like nothing. Okay, everybody, check this out right over here. It's absolutely beautiful. It's an aqua blue piece of glass, and I don't know if you can tell right over here, but you can see it's got these brown lines in it, these brown striations. So what would happen a lot of times, I've seen this a lot in old like mason jars, and there's actually people out there that collect exclusively brown, amber brown stained glass. So what happens is there's some sort of iron, like little pieces of it, little flecks of it can get caught inside the molten glass batch, and it creates these streaks in it. It's absolutely wild. And for me, it's a really strong indicator that a piece like this was made in the 1800s. It's absolutely stellar. You know, this piece here, I'd have to say is about 1.5 inches long, and it's by far the nicest piece that I've found since the last time I was on this beach, and I found that beautiful insulator nugget that was turquoise blue. You know, I don't think that this piece right over here originates from an insulator because it doesn't have those little ridged lines, that pinhole threading that piece that I found earlier possessed, and it also has these little striations in it. It's a little bit too flat to be an insulator piece right over here, because usually those pieces that I find that are a nice color like this that are insulators have some sort of a curvature to them. So this is probably the wall of a really large, beautiful old aqua bottle from the 1800s. I'm so glad that I just found this beautiful piece, everybody, because I'm digging a spot where the rocks are actually a little bit bigger than I'm used to finding my sea glass in, but I know this spot really well, and the one thing that I know about it is it has that nugget wow factor, and those big nuggets are in the larger rocks as opposed to some of the smaller ones. Okay, everybody, it's only about a minute later. You can see I still have this piece in my hand, and I just turned the camera on and I looked down and I found another huge piece, but this one here is of a milk glass shard right over here. You can see it's still over 1 inch across, and it's probably even a little bit thicker than this one that I found right over here when I put them together. So this one here probably could have been from like a cold cream or a menthanol, something that was probably made around 1920 to 1940 would be my best assessment. Okay, everyone, I was just grabbing my jacket over there and my backpack, and then I found this tiny little fragment right over here. This piece is hard to get into focus, everybody, but I really wanted to share it with you. You can see there's a little bit of an embossed kind of lettering on it right over here, and to me it looks like an I and an O. Now to me, this tells me that this could be a piece from an old poison bottle. You can see it's a little bit lighter as well, so it could be the ION from poison. And the other thing it could be is the I could actually be an N, and it could say no refill or do not refill, which was pretty common on bottles in the mid-century. It actually said do not refill or no refill on it. So the jury's still out on this one, everybody. I don't think I have an original bottle that will match this at home, but it's just really neat when you find little pieces of a bottle and it has these embossed letters or embossed numbers on it, because it really opens up the possibility that we're going to be able to trace it to where it came from. And this is exactly what I was talking about when I say that the shoreline can just erode on a moment's notice. Take a look at all of these rocks over here, probably about a ton that fell. And I know it doesn't look like much, but when I go up a little bit further, you can really see that there's a whole bunch more that is about to come down at any moment. So you really got to be careful and make sure that you're never picking right next to these cliffs right over here. Check this out right over here, everybody. I don't think it's plastic, and I definitely know it's not glass. So to me, I think this is some sort of a rubber, and it's just absolutely beautifully textured. It's gonna make a masterpiece and some sort of artwork for me somewhere down the road. And I just wanted to share it with you because not all the most beautiful things that I find are glass. So here's a few more discoveries that I made when I didn't have the camera rolling. At first I thought this pattern was really strange, and then I turned it around and it became clear to me that it's a threaded screw cap. It could even be from something modern like a Bacardi bottle. And I found this right over here, which at first I thought was the stem from an apothecary stopper. And then when I turned it, it's got a little bit of damage and a little bit of a curvature to it too, as you can see. So the jury's still out on that one as well. And I found this beautiful tiny little piece, and it's a nice little shade of greenish teal. You can see it's another piece of aqua blue, almost a turquoise. And this one over here, now that I'm looking at it, this one actually could be from an old insulator. This is a really neat find over here. So these waves are getting pretty violent on me. So I'm happy that I got this one right over here. It might have, I just got wet. Now look at this one over here, everybody. It's a lot different than most of the clear sea glass that we encounter. It almost looks like these little curves on it were put there intentionally during the manufacturing process, and these lines on it as well were definitely put on it. So maybe this is actually some piece of like a stopper, if you will, and it would have been going down such as this over here, and you would have grasped it with your fingers. I'm really not sure, but it just goes to show that once in a while we find something that's clear sea glass that's actually a lot of fun. Check out this well-aged beauty over here, everybody. I would have to imagine this is once again from a wine bottle. You can see it's a nice shade of green. It's very, very soft. And once again, it's almost shaped like a teardrop. Well, look at this over here, everybody. There's a good chance that you are gonna find this on your beaches if you live in a rubbish cove. This right over here is the remains of a tooth. Now, in the best of my assessment, I'm gonna say this is a cow tooth. A horse tooth is another thing that I find out here as well. And this one's kind of wild because you can just see it's got these textured layers to it. Now I know there's a lot of people out there that don't like to touch teeth and bones out there. The way that I kind of see it and I teach my children is that the spirit and the life of the animal lives on through the tiny artifacts that we collect and the stories we tell about where we found them and what the animal was. Not too long ago, I went to Dominion Beach and I actually found an amazing shard of a bone that I wanted to share with you. Okay, check this out over here. Look at what I have in my hand. This is a piece of whale bone. You know, it's really hard to recognize, and I have to say it's really dense as well. But what happened was a few years ago, a huge whale beached out on Dominion Beach, and unfortunately they weren't able to save it. And this was sitting at the really, really high tide mark, and it seems to be extremely waterlogged, because I'm going to say this is about a 5 or 6 pound piece of bone. And it's just amazing, because we're not finding a lot of sea glass out here. We're having a great time, and then this bone just showed up. A couple of years ago, out on Dominion, there was a whale that beached itself. So that's where that amazing shard came from. It's kind of wild because when the body was out there, you could fit a school bus inside of it. And now the only thing that remained was a tiny fragment that weighed about 4 pounds. Look at this right over here, everybody. It's a piece. Oh, wow, look at this. It's got black on one side. It's got red on the other side. And it really looks old. It looks really faded as well. This is a great find. It's a really neat piece of little ceramic. This is just unbelievable. Taking a look at this over here, you can see you got piles of seaweed, and then you got the driftwood, and the driftwood just gets stuck in it. Gets pushed in every single direction. You can see it right over here. It's like a little statue that's sitting underneath the seaweed. Now check this one out, everybody. I'm on my way home, but I just figured I would search the spot where I found all those bottles earlier in the spring. And unfortunately, I found this right over here, which would have been an amazing bottle in its time, probably made around 1860 to 1880. So we can see right over here by these little markings and the inconsistencies that this was without a doubt a tooled by hand sloped double collar, as opposed to an applied double collar, which kind of had a clamping tool, if you would, to finish the bottle off. It's wild because you can see that there's a lot of beautiful bottle lips and fragments that are sitting right over here. We got the manganese glass, and then we've got a whole bunch of plates and other pieces, but it's just so densely packed over here. We're gonna have to wait until next spring to find out if there's any more bottles in here. This one's pretty neat though. I really wish that this one was intact. So I was just trying to take a few photos of this plate, and then I looked over and you can see that there's a spoon sticking out of the shoreline. So look at this right over here. It's a spoon, and this is how I find spoons and forks and other cutlery in the ocean, is because it was just left right here by the seaside. It makes its way down all the way over here, you can see, through the natural erosion process, and then it makes its way into the ocean. You can see there's a really unique piece of an old mason jar and a boot and a whole bunch of other glass, which will become sea glass over time. Check this out. I'm actually standing on the side of the cliff where all the earth gets eroded into the ocean, and you can see that there's a beautiful ceramic shard right over here, and it's sitting in the dirt. Let's take a look at it now. Let's try and get it out. Okay, I haven't got it out yet, but you can see there's almost like a face right over here. This is something that I recognize. I'm pretty sure I've seen this before. Okay, there we go. So we got it out. Let's take a look here. I have to switch hands over here because I was filming holding this the wrong way. So look at this right over here, everyone. This is absolutely beautiful. You can see the pattern, and to think somebody threw this away a long time ago. Let's look right over here, and it says right there, made in Japan. Look at that. That is so neat. I'll bet you there's somebody out there that can match this piece to its origins. It's not going to be me, because I'm a lot more versed with glass history than I am with ceramics. And I just looked down as I'm filming this, and check it out, everybody. It's the top of some sort of a dish. It's like a crystal dish. You can see this would have made like a beautiful sea glass stopper one day if I hadn't just found it right now, because it's going to come home in my collection. And you can see it's almost got like a little bit of a dullish coloring to it. And as I've talked about before in my video about how you can tell the difference between glass and crystal, this is one of the characteristics that I talk about, is that dull iridescence to it. So I'm not 100% sure yet, because it could actually just be dirt from sitting in the soil for all this time. But this is a really neat find, and I'm glad that this one over here caught my eye, and then it led me to this one right here as well. And I'm still holding this right over here, everybody. You can see I have to put it down, because look right over here, there's a bottle. My goodness, look at this. This day just keeps going. This is a small little bottle. It's got a number on it, and it's got 20th century markings, absolutely, because it's clear, but it's really, really small. And now look at this beautiful piece of clear glass, and it's got this nice little embossing on it. It's almost like a reverse hobnail. It's kind of amazing. There's just so much stuff that got thrown away here. It's just really unfortunate that so much of it is broken. And here's another bottle right over here. It's really small. It's about 90% of a bottle. You can see it's missing just the top over here, and I'm sure it's not too far from us. But it just goes to show that a lot of these smaller bottles right over here, they survived a lot better than the larger ones. Okay everyone, so I'm back at home and I was getting ready to show you the vortex test, whether or not you can figure out if something is plastic or it's glass. And lo and behold, the lid to my container was not secured and I dumped a whole pile of red plastic into my sea glass bucket. So either way, we're just gonna try and do the test as is, and we're gonna see how much of this is actually plastic. So you can see right away, when I start to create just a little bit of a minimal vortex, all of the heavy pieces stay on the bottom where the light plastic remains on the top and it can flutter. Now I'm going to create a little bit more of a violent vortex and then we're going to be able to see a better example. There you go. You can see all of that right over there. Even when I'm swishing my hand back and forth, you can really see how all of these pieces of plastic just like to flutter, whereas the glass is just sitting still in a concentrated pile down at the bottom. Now, secondly, I also wanted to share these pieces over here because there was a group where somebody posted a few pictures of a piece of just like this right over here, and they wanted to know what it was. I posted my advice and told them that this is something that I encounter in quite a bit of frequency out my way and that it is plastic, and they vehemently denied that it was plastic and that it was glass. Even though I live a fossil fuel-free life and I love the environment, in the name of sea glass science, I'm going to take a lighter and I'm going to put it to one of these pieces over here, and we're just going to see how easily it bubbles. Okay everyone, so I've got my selected piece right over here, and afterwards I'm going to put the same flame to this piece of sea glass so you can see that it is not compromised by these temperatures. I had to go inside the house briefly and get myself a tool so I can do this properly, and you can see that it is a windy day. However, it really doesn't take long when you hold a flame to a piece of plastic for something to be compromised. You can hear that, right? That is the sound of plastic bubbling. So we know without a doubt that this is a piece of plastic. Now, I'm going to take the piece of sea glass right over here, and we're going to take the lighter, and you're going to see that there might be a little bit of a dark carbon, a little bit of a spot to it. However, it is not going to ignite this glass. A regular fire like this does not get the glass hot enough to compromise it. You can hear the wind just picked up a bit. Okay everyone, so for about the past minute now, the lighter keeps flickering on and off because of the wind, but I keep putting it on and you can see that it has not been compromised at all whatsoever. So it really just goes to show you that plastic and glass are two very different elements when we're out there on the beach. And with these little tools that I've provided right now, hopefully it helps you distinguish between one and the other. Where so many of the insulator finds that I recover are this beautiful Hemingway 42 turquoise, I do recover the occasional clear insulator find. As you can see right over here in my hand, I've got a local Dominion insulator, and it still has that same pinhole threading in it. Now, one other thing that I like to talk about with the insulators is this little beading around the bottom over here was added later to help draw away the precipitation, whereas you can see this one over here doesn't possess that little beading at the bottom. It is a bright sunny day and it's hard to tell, but this one over here is a straw yellow because this clear glass was actually made with selenium in it. So here I have my mid-century milk bottle, everybody. We know it's from the mid-century because it's got this square paneling on the sides. I wanted to put this piece of sea glass right next to it so that you can see how I was able to tell that it originated from one of these bottles. It's got that little line on the inside that I referred to as the cap seat closure, and then we can see it right over here. This is where the paper disc would have sat. The other way that I can tell that this is from a milk bottle is because of the bulge on the outside of the lip, which we also know was common on all of these, whether they were big like this one or the smaller little creamer sized ones. They definitely possessed that little bumpy ridge on the outside. Over here you can see I've got that really unique clear sea glass lip from the shoreline, and I wanted to compare it to the Vitalis bottle that I found in the harbor a couple of months ago. When I put the threading of the two lips right next to each other, they are without a doubt an unequivocal match to one another. However, when I show you the actual opening to the bottles, you can see that the fully intact one is slightly larger than the shard that I found. I still think that this piece right over here originates from this Vitalis bottle in my hand, and it actually makes me wonder, did the person that discarded this bottle over here actually discard the lip that I found as well? I really wanted to share with everybody how tiny this tiny sea glass really is. So you can see I'm back at home. I put 20 little pieces on this Canadian quarter, and I even put a ruler here for a size comparison so you can see how tiny these 3 reds and all these other shades really are. You know, the process is quite painstaking. However, I do use natural sea glass exclusively in all of my creations. So what happens is a lot of these tiny little rock fragments get stuck as I'm picking the sea glass off of the beaches, and it requires a second, more meticulous sorting when I'm back at home before I can use these for crafts. However, it really is well worth it, because you can see the sea glass over here is some of the smallest stuff that you'll ever find on the planet. It's nighttime right now, and we're about to find out if that shard of sea glass that I thought was uranium glass glows underneath a black light. Oh, look at that, everyone. It absolutely does glow underneath the black light. So I want to say that there are specific light bulbs that you can buy and flashlights that you can buy to help you figure out which pieces are uranium glass and which ones aren't. But this light bulb I have right over here was about $5, and I picked it up at Walmart in the regular lighting section, and it just fits into a regular socket. So if you don't have a lot of money and you want to find out if your sea glass has that UV tinge to it, like this piece does right over here, and you don't want to spend a lot of money, that's exactly where you can go to pick up a light that will help you. That's going to be about it for us today, everybody. The tide is creeping up behind me quite rapidly, and we've dug all of the piles. Without a doubt, my favorite find of the day is this beautiful blue with the amber brown striations in it that I know is from the 1800s. You know, it really gets my imagination working when I think back to what life must have been like out here over a century and a quarter ago, when somebody probably discarded this into the sea. Hopefully we're back out here again real soon, and hopefully my real beach that I love to pick on is back open and all the seaweed is gone. Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you leave a comment down below, like and subscribe to my video if you enjoyed what you saw. I got plenty more sea glass archaeology to come and more amazing finds. Hopefully we're back out here again real soon.